Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List, and we are back. I am so excited to play my TBR game again. I feel like I've just been trudging through the last month and a half, and I'm really going to use this particular game to get me out of what I think is kind of a reading slump. So let's get into it. If this is your first TBR video of mine, I play a game called TBR Pursuit, where I use the Lord of the Rings Trivia Pursuit board to determine what books I will be reading in the upcoming month. And each color represents a different genre of the 6 most common genres on my physical shelves, which are Jewish, LGBT, fantasy, romance, classic, and psychology. I also have these bigger spots at the end of the spokes, which are Miscellaneous, which counts for any other book that does not fit in those 6. My collection is pretty eclectic, so I do have a lot more Miscellaneous books at this point compared to the other 6, but it's fine. I do also have an option to add a book, which is the purple roll again spots. So that will add a book to my TBR. I may go for like one just to have some fun. I don't know. As I said, the past month and a half or so has been kind of slumpy for me. I think I'm at the worst of the slump. I'm not actively, but I'm somewhat intentionally, unintentionally avoiding an audiobook. I will start it today, but that's for my other video. I'm going to be going for books that make me excited because I need to read. Reading is good for my mental health. It gives me an escape when I feel like the world is on fire, which is a lot recently, and I could just really miss it. I've just been reading a lot of books that I need to read, and I want to read books that I'm excited about. So that's what I'm going to be aiming for, but I'm going to get set up and let's see what the game is going to do to me. Alright. As always, I sort of get to just pick what I want my first genre to be. And because I want it to be something I'm excited about, I'm just going to go for romance. What? Okay. So that'll be this one. Great. Summer vibes in November. Love that. Right, for a romance book with summer vibes, I picked Rock the Boat. I've had this for, I say like maybe 2 years. Essentially, it's about these 3 young adults who grew up on this like coastal town. I think it's called Sea Point. And 2 of them, possibly all 3, had moved away from Sea Point as, you know, they like graduated and everything. But Kate, it says her life in Manhattan implodes, and so she goes back to Sea Point to sort of gather herself up, as well as her like childhood friends, Miles and Ziggy, are also there. Miles is trying to prove that he can take over the family business. Ziggy is helping him with that. And they are all in Sea Point while Sea Point is also being approached by this like land developer who wants to, you know, purchase large swaths of land at this place. And so they're sort of witnessing and processing about how they feel about that. So I think it's really interesting because it reminded me a bit of the town where my grandma grew up, which is this like little town on the coast in Massachusetts called Rockport. I've been there a couple times, well, 3 times. And, you know, I feel so like connected to it, even though I haven't been that often. But it's this place that was like an artist colony, which you can still see large influences of. And so when I read this, I was picturing Rockport, and so I felt pretty drawn to it. So I think I will enjoy it, even though it's not the season to be reading this. right. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. So I'll just go for Miscellaneous, which will be completely random. Art. I'm not sure what I mean by this. I'm assuming it's a storygraph genre. I'll figure out what that means. Art book. Okay, so I put in storygraph because you can filter it based off of genre. And there was an art category, so I filtered it through that. There was only one book, so I'm not sure why this is a card. Now, granted, I wrote these cards like probably like 2.5, 3 years ago. I don't know what other art book I've read. I don't know, but I did have a book. It's Architecture Styles. I am fascinated by architecture. I love looking at architecture. I briefly considered studying architecture, but then I realized how much math they have to do. And I was like, never mind. But I do love like going to architecture tours and learning more about the history of buildings and everything. And I wanted to get better at identifying specific types of architecture. And so I had put this on my wish list, and my dad got it for me for the holidays. I think like maybe last year or 2 years ago, I'm not sure. And it's literally just a visual guide. So there's literally just like drawings and explanations. And it's broken into categories. So I think I might just have to read like a certain amount every day, because I think this would be a lot to take in. And if it even has an index. That's awesome. And glossary. It has a whole section on stairways. That's fun. So yeah, so this is really interesting. And so there are 277 pages. I'm not going to try to divide that by 30 right now. Especially because I think my math is like super off. That can't be. Alright, I'm going to divide it by... Because I'm like, I have in my head like 90. I'm like, there's no way. That's not the case. It's not 90 pages. Alright, hold on. Let me do this math. And by that I mean let this calculator do this math. Okay, it's 9.2. That's where the 9 came in. My brain just went too fast and it's like 90. It's like, that's not accurate. I know that's not, I can do that math. So yeah, so it'd be like 10 pages a day. So like 9 pages a day. So like that's not that bad. So I could probably do that and knock this out and learn a little bit more. So that's yay. I'm glad I finally get to read this, even though it's very strange that I have an art card when I don't have any other art books. 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is LGBT. 6 would go to the center, so that's nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So LGBT or Jewish? Ooh. Well, I said I wanted to be excited, so let's go LGBT. Hey! Feel good! Love that. Alright, so for a feel-good LGBT plus book, I have it on my Kindle. I got it on this, like, free Kindle book day. It's called His Coffee Shop Crush, and it's about this guy named Jack who is an author, and he is struggling to finish the 4th book in his, like, middle grade series, but he's found that going to this, like, particular coffee shop is a good place to, like, focus. Except there's a very attractive barista named Pete, and they start getting to know one another, they start flirting, but there's something about Pete's past that connects them in some way. I assume Pete has something to do with the publishing industry or his agent, or I don't know. But, you know, the book is sort of figuring out, like, Pete isn't only a barista, and when they discover that their lives are already intertwined in an unexpected way, can their new relationships survive revelations from Pete's past? So, it does say it's a guaranteed happy ending. So but I was curious. It seemed, you know, pretty lighthearted. So I thought that'd be a good thing to read. And it's, like, fairly short. It's less than 200 pages. So. 6 again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fantasy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roll again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miscellaneous. Ooh, fantasy or miscellaneous. I don't necessarily want to roll again quite yet. Fantasy or miscellaneous. I'm not quite feeling fantasy right now. Let's go miscellaneous, although that's really a shot in the dark. Okay. Comics. I don't think I have many options with this, but okay. Alright. For a book about comics, only 2 things came up because comics are different from graphic novels. And this is gonna be so interesting. Emily the Strange. Now, Emily the Strange, as I know her, is, you know, this little goth girl that was just on like merch when I was going through my own little goth phase in like middle and high school. So there's that. But there were comics about it, and so I'm assuming that's where Emily came from. But this is, I've never read an Emily the Strange comic before. But I got this for the holidays last year, maybe the year before. The art looks really, really interesting and honestly kind of what I would expect. So, yeah, I'll be interested to revisit my goth days. This should be fun. I can't tell you what it's about. Yeah, it says, The Complete Emily Strange, All Things Strange collects the first 3 volumes in one beautiful paperback. It's a perfect time to be strange. And it just says that Emily is the world's weirdest 13-year-old. And her curiosity and confidence bleed through every page of this mammoth collection. So, yeah, great. Hopefully I still like it. 2. So roll again, or LGBT. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do roll again. Alright, so now I'm gonna go for 8. That's gonna be 8 books on my TBR. I'm gonna roll again. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 Jewish, 1, 2, 3, 4 LGBT, 3, 4 roll again. So LGBT or Jewish? LGBT or Jewish. I do have a Jewish book that I need to read this month, so I will go ahead and go for Jewish. Oh, perfect. Because I know I can get this in hardback. Amazing. For a Jewish hardback book, I have... Well, I don't have it. I need to go buy it still, but I will buy the hardback edition. It's 8 Very Bad Nights. It is a collection of short stories that are... I think they're all Hanukkah stories. Yeah. They're all Hanukkah stories, but they're more like film noir, like detective kind of like Hanukkah stories, but they're all based around Hanukkah, but they're not, you know, they're not feel good, certainly. I had picked it for our book club meeting in December, and just for a change of pace, because usually like most Hanukkah stories that you find that are fiction are like cozy, feel good, all about like the importance of family and all that stuff, and that's great, but I wanted something a little bit different. So 8 Very Bad Nights just sounds really fascinating, and I don't think I've read a lot of noir. You know, I've read like Agatha Christie. I don't know if Agatha Christie would be considered noir. She probably would be, actually. Maybe. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun time. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 psychology, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fantasy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fantasy. Well, I said I wanted to be excited, so let's go for fantasy. If I can, I will always avoid psychology, which is not helpful. A fantasy is a hardback. Okay. Fantasy hardback. The Ragpicker King. I read Swordcatcher, which is the first book in the series, last year? Yeah, I think it was last year. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I'd never read Cassandra Clare before, and I thought she did a really great job world building and really fascinated by it. I can see where a certain like ship is developing between two of the three main characters. It's not my favorite, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm just like, because the world is very like LGBT inclusive, and yet and yet, you know, it's a heterosexual ship. So that's kind of disappointing. But that's fine. That's not what this book is about. We have Kell, who is like the main character, who is the sword catcher for Connor, who is the prince of this Castellane, I think Castellane's the city, but prince of this region. And by sword catcher, he's just like, he looks enough alike Connor that if there's any threat to safety, he can take Connor's place, and he ends up being the one in danger instead of Connor. So there's that. But they're best friends, but there's some intrigue going on, and Kell is trying to protect Connor to the best of his abilities, which is maybe not as much as it should be. And then we also are introduced to Lynn, who is part of this group of people who are kind of ostracized just based off of some historical things that has been painted in a certain way for people to ostracize them and keep them in positions of less power, unless, of course, the people in higher power need their help, and then it's fine. But Lynn is trying to save her best friend, who has this like health condition. And so she ends up like researching things that she's not supposed to have access to. And she sort of meets Kell and Connor, and they interact. Their storylines brush a lot. And so I assume they'll get more intertwined, because now both Kell and Lynn are working for/with the Ragpicker King, who is this criminal or crime boss, I guess. So yeah, so I'm trying not to like talk about spoilers, but I don't think any of those are spoilers. So I will be interested to pick this up again. It is quite hefty, which is not my favorite at this moment, but I do remember really enjoying it, really finding it intriguing, so I don't think it'll be a struggle to get through. Alright. 3. 2, 3 Jewish. 1, 2, 3. Let's go miscellaneous again. Let's see what bullshit it gives me now. Okay. Ah, hell. It's literary, which is not great for me. I tend not to like literary fiction. A literary book. Literary is not my favorite. I tend to not like the main characters of literary books, but we're gonna keep trying, because I have a lot of literary books on my TBR, apparently. But I picked up The Bookshop by Penelope Fitzgerald, and this is about this like little English town on the coast, and the main character, Florence, she's recently widowed, she has an inheritance, and she decides that she's going to move to this little town and open a bookshop, because the town doesn't have one, and everything will be great, except maybe there's a reason this little town doesn't have a bookshop. Maybe they don't really want one. And some of her neighboring, like, shop owners are a bit jealous of the success that she has found. So there's probably going to be some tension there. But I'm like, it's a book about a bookstore on the coast. So, of course, I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to hopefully enjoy it. Alright, and for our last roll, probably 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Psychology. 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll again. Okay. Oop. Okay, so here's the thing. I did say that I would avoid psychology. And I'm going to keep avoiding psychology. 9 books on this TBR. 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Miscellaneous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Romance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Classics. Let's go for romance. Okay, that's better. Autumn vibes. A romance with autumn vibes. So this, of course, jumped out at me because doesn't that look super autumnal? Given Our History is about this woman named Clara, or Clara, I'm not sure which one. She is a history professor. She's been working really hard. She's finally up for tenure at this university that she works with. But there is this like guest lecturer that comes in that she recognizes because a decade before she'd broken up with him. I don't know how old they are, but maybe 30s, maybe early 30s, but they did have a relationship. She broke up with him over the phone, which is not a great way to do that, but it says that, you know, she teaches history, she knows how to recognize patterns, and she has no intention on repeating history. Well, it's nice to have intentions, but she's going to end up repeating history. This is a second chance romance, which is usually not my favorite because I have found in the few that I've read, granted I've not read that many, that like either the reason for the breakup in the first place was not well explained, or, in my opinion, not fully resolved when they get back together. But hopefully this addresses both things, because it honestly sounds like she made a somewhat impulsive decision to help her career, and that can be addressed by talking about it. So hopefully they do that, and hopefully I like it because it looks very cute. So yay. All right, now for the last roll, because I really shouldn't add another one. So here we go. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so fantasy is gonna be the last one. My highest rated fantasy. Alright, my highest rated fantasy. I actually had like 4 books that were fairly close, but this one ended up on top. And it is book 2 of Sandman. Let's see if I can get it without the reflection. Nope. Yeah. Yep. So I got this in New York City 3 years ago? Was that 3? Maybe 2. I don't know. When I went to New York City. I don't know at what point this picks up because it's been so long since I've read book 1. I have read most of Sandman, but I didn't have it in this edition. I want to say, like, if we're thinking about it in terms of the show, oh no, it probably doesn't. That would be way too much. I know, like, season 1 of the show followed book 1. Most of it, if not all of it. So, yeah, I don't remember quite what storylines are in here, but I know I like Sandman already. But it's been a while since I've reread it, so I think it'll be great. If you don't know, Sandman follows Dream, who is the third of the Endless, who are these like 7 beings that are the personifications of human concepts. So Dream is the ruler of dreams. There's also Destiny, Death. I'm going to go out of order now because I don't remember the exact order. Destruction, Desire, Despair, and Delirium. I think that was all 7. But Dream was captured for about 80 years, and that kind of led to his realm being destroyed. And so the Sandman comics are following him rebuilding and his growth. He did grow some. There was growth. Maybe not as much as there should have been. But yeah, so it'll be great to reread this. And then finally, the only other book that is on my TBR that I wasn't able to fit in the game is the Woodhouse book I will be reading this month, which is Ookeridge. Or Ookeridge? I don't know how to... I think I just said it the exact same way. I don't usually talk about the plot of the Woodhouse books because I go in completely blind because I read them for our podcast, and so I want my like reactions to be genuine. I have met Ookeridge before, and I feel like I didn't like him that much. So we'll see how it goes. But those are the 10 books I'm going to try to read in November. Hopefully I can. And hopefully this also helps get me out of my funk a little bit. I would like to be out of my reading slump. So if you have read any of these books or have any interest in any of these books, please leave a comment below. Like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.